You have to know that, hey, I got to go down here so I can get to here. If he does it for me, I'll do it for him. But when you do it for somebody and then all of a sudden that somebody doesn't want to do it for you, then you got a big problem.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are back once again, a pre-recorded edition of Smack Talk, and I am here with the legendary manager, wrestler, creative mind, Dutch Mantell. How you doing, Dutch?
Well, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back home. I took a little vacation, and now I'm refreshed. You know, there's something about that, 2 or 3 days of court-ordered community service that kind of makes you appreciate your house a little bit. But I'm feeling good now. I'm back, and let's talk some wrestling. I don't want to talk nothing else because I got on Twitter and I got to talk about something else. Oh my God, I just got roasted. I mean, I won, but those people just roasted me. And I won't even tell you what it is.
Put your feet to the fire. But yes,
they tried to, but they couldn't do it. I beat the shit out of them.
You beat them through the computer screen?
I did. I'd like to drag some of them through, but okay. It's like if you have an opinion on something and they don't like that opinion, I mean, it's okay for them to have an opinion, but you can't. And I've learned I shouldn't go on there with opinions anyway, because they are my personal opinions. But they look at you like, hell, you spit on the Pope or something.
I mean, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, and they're usually full of shit.
Are you saying my opinions are full of shit? That's what you just said. You said most of them. And I think my opinion would fit in there somewhere as among most of them. All right, so let's talk some wrestling.
Yes, let's talk. So WWE news, of course, one of the bigger news points ever since the Raw after WrestleMania 39 is Vince McMahon back in power. The last time we talked here on Smack Talk was following the big WWE sale, but now, Vince McMahon, it's been kind of a tumultuous time in WWE with people not knowing when Vince will be back after him taking over creative control for the Raw after WrestleMania. A lot of superstars have even came out and reporting with Fightful Select, saying that some top superstars think that they might ask for their release if this trend continues. Some others are saying they would wait their deal out, and some others are saying that it's a wait and see approach. What do you think about the whole WWE landscape, and how involved do you think Vince McMahon will be in creative moving forward?
Well, I've read that he's only going to have influence over 12% of the stock. Is that right?
Well, with the WWE merger with the UFC that we discussed, he now no longer has majority voting control. Once the merger is completed, which is in the process of being completed, he will only have 18% voting shares.
Okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with creative. He's in that office, and he is a alpha male. He wants to be in charge. Now, I don't know how much he's going to have to do with creative, but let's talk about Vince a minute. He's done this all his life. He doesn't know anything else. He doesn't know how to be a lawyer. He doesn't know how to drive a truck. Not that he would be a good truck driver anyway, but he knows how to run a wrestling organization. And since he's familiar with that, he'll look at creative, and if he doesn't like what they're doing, I have no doubt that he'll make his feelings known. He may step in a room and cuss them out like he used to. He has that old deja vu feeling like, oh, I used to cuss these bastards out all the time, blah, blah, blah. Didn't make the product any better. It was just what he did. And how much influence, I don't know. I didn't think he would want to have that much influence, but yet I thought back, I said, wait a minute, you're not even describing him accurately. He's done it all his life. Why wouldn't he want to go back? And now I think he has some old scores to settle. Everybody that wrote him off like, oh, the big dog's dead now. Well, he's not dead. He's back with a new set of teeth, and he may be chomping some asses before it's over with. As far as, and I said last week when I first saw Shane McMahon, I went, wait a minute. And it's like saying, tell me that Vince is back in charge without telling me that Vince is back in charge. And here comes Shane. Of course, he broke it. I'm not laughing, but he blew his knee out, which was actually kind of funny. I hate to laugh at him, but I don't know how much influence he's going to have on creative. And some of them have said, and I've talked about this before, oh, I'm not going to hang around here and do bullshit. Where are you going to go and make the money you're making? I do agree with the ones, I'm going to wait and see, or I'm going to wait it out. WWE might not even want to renew some of their contracts. And that's what gets me about wrestlers. Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Most of them don't do anything because they're just talking. And I think that's part of the way that they can convince themselves internally that they're not making a mistake by staying. So, and Drew McIntyre, I've been reading that he is upset with his new contract that he has been offered, and he may not sign it. Okay, you may not sign it. That's good. But I don't know what he's asking for, I guess. How do these guys find out what the other guys are making? Because one of the things they didn't want you to do in WWE is tell anybody in the company, especially another talent, what your money number was. Of course, the money number, one wrestler tells another, what are you making? Well, what are you making? Well, what are you making? What are you making? Well, I'm doing $700,000. He said, what? Is that all? Is that all you're making? Yeah, what are you making? He said, oh, a lot more than that. But the guy may be making 500, he just playing around and upsetting the guy. And that's how they mess with each other backstage. I don't know. What was your question?
Well, I was going to say that PW Insider was the first one that came out and talked about Drew McIntyre's contract is set to expire. It was then Fightful who confirmed that his contract expires within the next 9 months. So it's basically going to expire at the end of 2023 into 2024. And then Wade Keller on PW Torch VIP talked about Drew McIntyre being frustrated with not just the money that he was making, but his creative. This is someone that, was in a prominent position, was a WWE champion, main evented the only WrestleMania at the Performance Center just after the whole pandemic started. He had the big matchup with Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle, unfortunately losing in his, the home country of the UK, the whole sing-along with Tyson Fury afterwards, and he steadily has come down the card since then. So what do you think is like his biggest frustration as far as like creative right now, when he's been probably seen as one of the guys that has a prominent position with the company?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. He was used better before, and he wants to go back to that position. Of course, to be in wrestling, you have to think, you got to have a big ego to get into it. You got to say, I'm as good as anybody else. I can attract as many viewers or sell as many tickets in your head, that is, as anybody else. I work harder. I do this. I do that. So if you don't think that you're as good or better than anybody else, then you don't belong in wrestling. You just don't belong there unless you got that ego from here and in the art. You just can't go. If you go out there and say, oh, well, I'm just lucky to be here, and well, you're not going to last long. And that's why when you get in there with those, when you get into a dressing room with these guys, you can't hardly get it. If there's only, say, 3 people in the room, the egos are so big there's no room to move. And you ought to get in the room with some of these guys and listen to them talk. Oh, they talk good to each other and put each other over. But then they go off, oh, F him and screw him and he's full of shit and just. And then he sees the guy, hey, Bill, hey, brother, I love you, man, you know. But that's accepted. That's the way wrestling business behind the doors are. Of course, a lot of them won't admit it, but that's the way it is. It's always been that way. But when you put all those egos in one room and you're trying to come up, and some of them want to do business, I'm going to say most of them do, and some of them you have to know that, hey, I got to go down here so I can get to here. If he does it for me, I'll do it for him. But when you do it for somebody and then all of a sudden that somebody doesn't want to do it for you, then you got a big problem.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? You said no, you answered. You got to say no, you talked about something else. Well, I don't care. It made sense.
You went around.
I did. And every now and then I jumped back in the middle and then I jumped out again. But that's the way wrestlers talk. Going down the road, you know, they'll get on something, then they'll hit 42 topics. Then they come back around. Then they'll say, like I do, what was your question? Because they'd actually forgotten it.
At least you're honest. You're honest about it.
Well, that's the way it is. But it was a lot of fun with wrestlers that can talk and bullshit. It's not boring, I'll tell you that.